What's he gonna cook? We don't know. It's the Boys and Girls Club Baking Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Boys and Girls Club Baking Show, the show where I know how to cook as well as Seamus Finnegan can brew a potion. I'm your host, Chef Coach Paul, head chef of this kitchen. Today we're going to be baking Hokkaido rolls. These things are delicious. Ever since I saw them online, I've been addicted. They're some of the fluffiest rolls I've ever had, and I can't stop making them. Family loves them. Highly recommend. We're going to be following a slightly modified recipe from King Arthur flour. The link will be in the description, and we're going to be doubling it because I always want more bread. Just kidding, I'm baking bread for my family. I discovered this recipe from a YouTube channel called Emmy Made in Japan. She's great and makes a lot of wonderful stuff. I highly recommend checking her out. The link will also be in the description. So without further ado, let's go over what we're gonna need. Going over the food. Going over the ingredients. For the starter, we will need 6 tablespoons of water, 6 tablespoons of flour. Just kidding. For the starter, we will need 6 tablespoons of water, 6 tablespoons of milk, and 4 tablespoons of flour. For the dough, we will need 5 cups of flour, 4 tablespoons of dry milk, 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of yeast, 1 cup of milk, 2 large eggs, and 8 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. Remember, I am doubling the recipe for completely unselfish reasons. You can absolutely half this recipe if it's too much. That's what's on the King Arthur website. The way I'm doing it, it'll make about 30 to 40 rolls depending on how you size them. They're gonna be about the size of a small stone. First step is the starter. It's what sets this bread apart. It is a Japanese method popularized in the 90s by a Chinese woman named Yvonne Chen. It is called this, which I'm pretty sure is pronounced Tangzhong. Please correct me if I am wrong. So we're gonna add the starter ingredients to a saucepan over a medium to high heat. I prefer a little bit hotter because it goes faster. And stir continually until they turn into a gelatin type thing. The starter is important to get right as it is what makes the bread so much lighter and fluffier than other breads, much like now that we've got the starter looking all good, we're gonna set it aside until it cools to room temperature. The reason you want it to cool to room temperature is when you add it into the dough with the yeast, it can burn the yeast, and we don't want that because then the dough won't rise and it'll just kind of stay flat and gross. All right, now we're gonna make the dough. Just green screen in money now. Now the recipe from Emmy Made in Japan's video, as well as the one in King Arthur flour, both use instant yeast, I think. I'm pretty sure I have active yeast, I don't know. Kind of just wing it. Anyways, I'm gonna set the yeast and let it rise in the cup of warm milk before I add it into the dough. The way to do that is you're gonna heat up the milk to around 110 degrees. Anywhere from 100 to 110 is a sweet spot. We're gonna get our 2 tablespoons of yeast. We're gonna pour it in, 2, and then I'm gonna add in a little bit of sugar. I'm pretty sure that helps. I don't know. Anyways, we get more sugar, so you know, we're just gonna, I don't measure it. So I'm just gonna kind of go like that. Let's go a tablespoon, kind of. Then we're gonna mix the little concoction together. Once we've mixed our yeast starter thing, we're gonna set it aside for like 5 or 10 minutes until it rises. You can watch a cool time lapse right here. All right, once your yeast has risen a good amount after like 5 or 10 minutes, you can pour it into the stand mixer, or you could just set it in the stand mixer instead of in this thing. Be more efficient than me. All right, so we're gonna pour this bad boy in. Got to get all the extra yeast, you know. Don't want to lose any of that. All right. All right, now we're going to add in our... Good grief. Now we're going to add in our flour. 5 cups, remember. Great strategy that you want to do when you're measuring flour is you get the flat end of a butter knife. You scrape... Oh, I just scraped that off onto the table. All right, anyways, scrape the bottom of the... with the butter, 5 cups of flour, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, then we're gonna add in the 4 tablespoons of dry milk. 1, 2, 3, 4. Audience is pretty loud today, as you can see. I recommend using a rubber spatula so that you can kind of get the sides so you don't lose a ton of it. Whoops. Now we can add in our 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt. Where are my teaspoons? Ever seen that music video by the, it's not Blink-182, OK Go, about the salt? That was kind of fun. One moment. That was a good video. We already did the yeast. We already did the milk. Now we're gonna add 2 eggs. I always get this wrong, right? Okay, got it. 2 eggs. We're gonna add in our 8 tablespoons of melted butter. That's just a whole stick. Math is easy. I didn't major in math. I majored in sociology. Now you can get your dough hook and mix it all together. If you don't have a dough hook, you can just knead this by hand. Basically just mix it and stretch out the dough and fold it and, I don't know, look up a definition for kneading. I don't know how to do that. We are going to knead the dough for a little bit. I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. Now we've got a bunch of kneaded dough because we needed a whole lot. I'm gonna grease the mixer pretty lightly here. I'm gonna set the dough in the mixer and then I'm going to put it in a warm place, cover it so that it can rise. I have found that heating up the oven to the lowest setting and then turning it off so that it isn't cooking, but it's still warm in there. And then putting your covered bowl inside the oven helps it a lot and it rises a lot faster. Let it rise for about 60 to 90 minutes. So now we're just waiting. Anyone want to hear a bread joke? I'll tell you a joke. What we put into our bodies. Hi, I'm Professor Coach Paul. Did you know that if you eat 1,000 honey butter croissants in a single day, you will probably die? That's 180,000 calories. So if the average daily caloric intake for a person should be around 2,000 calories, then if you eat 1,000 honey butter croissants, you're over your average daily caloric intake by 9,000%. And if you eat 20,000 honey butter croissants in a single day, well then you're over your daily caloric intake by 180,000%. Don't do that. Don't, if you eat... Okay, well, I guess we will move on. It looks like the, the joke. Because his plans went awry. We've got our dough all fluffy, as you can see when I poke it. There is a hole that still remains. That's a good thing. We're going to turn it out onto our work area. It helps if you flour the area, like you just dust a little flour over it. That way you can, it doesn't stick quite as much. It also helps if you flour your hands. I'm not going to do that because I didn't think this through. Now we're going to divide it up and put it into our cake pans. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grease up one of our cake pans so it doesn't stick to the bottom. Now I'm going to try and divide this into about 40 rolls because why not go for more? 30 is probably a more reasonable number. You just have to divide by thirds and that is scary. So I'm going to roll it up kind of into a ball. I'm going to go down the middle and hope that I got that right. So now I've got 4 roughly even pieces. I'm going to divide each of these into 10 and that'll make 40. Let's divide this in half. right, so these are 5 sort of equal pieces. This one's a lot smaller. In my experience, imperfection is just fine when you're baking. Doesn't really matter to me. So the way I do it when I'm shaping them is I kind of stretch the outer part inward so that it's not very even on the bottom, but it's smooth on top. And if it looks good enough, then it'll work. Right, so then I'm gonna twist and stretch until it kind of looks smooth on the top. All right, the oven should still be warm, so we're gonna cover these up, let them rise for another 45 minutes to an hour, pretty much until they're super puffy, and then we will continue on with the next step. All right, these have risen pretty well. Now what we are going to do is brush them with an egg wash. While you're doing that, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. The egg wash is just 1 egg and a tablespoon of cold water. With your egg wash, you want to lightly brush over the rolls. You don't want to deflate them. I've done that a few times, and whenever I do, it's a little disappointing because it's a lot of work to get to this point, but they still taste good even if they're a little bit deflated. Now that we've coated our rolls in egg wash, we're going to bake them for about 25 to 30 minutes. I think I'm gonna go about 30, just because I have a lot more rolls, and then we'll see how they come out. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, first off, what? Winking at are you kidding me? And that laugh track, you gotta stop. Wherever it's gotta stop. Okay, last I checked, there is not a studio audience in this house, so I don't know what's going on, right? But I can tell you that this guy, Chef Coach Paul, he burns these rolls. He thinks, you know, he's a good guy, right? He flies a little too close to the sun, but 30 rolls is what the recipe says. He goes for 40, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. He thinks he can do it. He's wrong, right? Because he burns the rolls and I have to deal with it. He doesn't have to. Future Coach Paul does. So what you need to do is go about 30, no more than 35, right? No more. He goes 40 again, just foolish. Foolish, and I have to deal with it, all right? Also, maybe cook them at 25 minutes instead, 20 to 25 instead of 25 to 30, right? It won't hurt. Just check on it a little bit earlier than time, or else you'll burn them like he does. You've seen the thumbnail. You know how this goes. You probably go, oh, those look kind of weird. Yeah, it's because he screws them up, all right? So disregard, I don't know, like the past 10 minutes, 5 minutes, the past 5 minutes. Just disregard some of that. Regard what I'm telling you. Trust me. Thanks. That's all. Goodbye. You have a good day. And we have bread rolls. Yeah, woo! Don't these just look delicious? All right, well, that's another episode of the Boys and Girls Club Baking Show. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and support the Boys and Girls Club. Have a great day.
What's he gonna cook? We don't know. It's the Boys and Girls Club Baking Show.
Don't eat